Alright, hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Seiun Sky banner. We will also be talking about why you should decide to pull on the banner, why you want to avoid pulling on that banner, how to defeat the meta that comes up from Seiun Sky, and how to build for the meta as well. Right? Because Seiun Sky will define our meta for a very, very long time. And then the cards themselves, we can also discuss whether you want to pull them or not, but generally the answer is going to be no, very easily understood. Right? Shigeyuki Nishiyama and Seiun Sky, we're going to go into the bit of lore here. Right? We want to learn a bit about Seiun Sky. Seiun Sky is part of the Golden Generation, including Special Week, El Condor Pasa, as well as who's the other one? Grass Wonder. Yes, Grass Wonder. So she was running alongside those horses. King Halo was around as well, right? So all these horses were fighting with this monstrous horse here. Seiun Sky actually started off as a lead soldier, but she converted to a front runner, and she's a very, very powerful front runner. And so that's why in the game she's a front runner horse, and she also has insane stamina. And in the game also she has 20% stamina bonus. In real life she had insane stamina as well, right? Shigeyuki Nishiyama is basically part of the Nishiyama farm slash family, and this farm basically has Seiun Sky. Right? They own Seiun Sky, and he really, really loves Seiun Sky and Nishino Flower. He has a car that has Seiun Sky on it, and he also has a bike with Nishino Flower on it, if I remember correctly. Right? Really, really big fan of his own horse. Well, he's the biggest fan is ultimately the guy who owns it. Right? Really, really cool. Okay. So moving on over here, we have the record for Seiun Sky, right? As you can see here, she will fight the likes of King Halo Special Week, beating them in Kikuka and Satsuki. Unfortunately, later on, when she fights them again, Special Week is going to clean up on her, right? Third place, Special Week is winning. Second place, Special Week is winning. Fourth place, Special Week is winning. Fifth place, Special Week is winning. Literally, all these G1s here, Spear Chan is going to be taking quite a few dubs against her, right? Grass Wonder also will take a dub here at the Arima Kinen. I think that was the one that Grass Wonder beat Special Week by a nose. I think that's the one. That's why she's the first place over here. But Special Week was second place in that one, right? So a lot of times, Special Week is going to sweep the floor with her. But Seiun Sky, don't get her wrong, she is still a successful horse, right? 7 wins, 1 second place, 1 third place, and 4 other positions, ultimately earning 610 million yen. Considered a very, very successful horse. And for the Nishiyama side, I believe one of the goals was to win a classic with a horse, and Seiun Sky was one of the horses that helped them to win the classic, right? So that is why they value Seiun Sky very, very greatly. Okay, so that is pretty much the racing history of Seiun Sky. Now let's go to a little bit more about the lore here, putting her below TM Opera O, right? So Seiun is the clan name. They would call their male horses Seiun, which is very funny because sometimes other horses would be also called Seiun. Like there were millions of Oguris back in the day, so they called Oguri Cap instead of Oguri, right? For in this case, Seiun Sky was their horse, but there was another horse called Seiun also that won. And what happened was that they were congratulated because they thought Seiun was from Nishiyama farm, right? So it's a bit funny over here. Right? She's a trickster in real life because the jockey actually slowed down during the Kika show, and that baited other people to spurt early. And when you spurt early, you don't have enough stamina for the end. And what happened was that she was storing her energy because of the jockey's decision. And after they baited, she spurted and then she won. And she also blocked Spechan by running inside the inner lane, thus getting that victory against Spechan. Right? Very, very powerful horse. Good jockey also for the strategy here, right? Seiun's old animation, the fishing animation, is a reference to Juzo Yamasaki, who's a close friend to Nishiyama, a mangaka whose most famous work is the Suribaka Nishi, which is like the Great Fisher or some shit like that. I can't remember the exact English translation name, sorry. But basically, because the mangaka's famous work was about fishing, they made Seiun Sky also fishing. He was also a really big fan of Seiun Sky, so it's like W, you know? Just put it as Seiun Sky fishing. Okay? Seiun hated the starting gate in real life, had to be coaxed in there through a ton of methods. And I believe at some point they actually decided, okay, you get priority. All the other horses will wait until Seiun Sky goes inside, then we'll bring the other horses inside. So that's how rough it was to try and push her into the starting gate. She's also part of the Golden Generation with Spare Chan, Grass Wonder, El Condor, and so on. And later on at the Tenno show, he banged the gate, and what happened was that he was suspended for 1 month and got tendonitis. So that is a really unfortunate problem for Seiun Sky over here. She did not die due to these complications, thankfully. She managed to live a very, very long retirement life. And ultimately, later on, was mated with Nishino Flower. The lineage was not very impressive until Nishino Daisy, the great-grandson, won a G1, also owned by the Nishiyama farm. So yeah, nice. They actually managed to make the bloodline pop off over here. Really, really nice, right? Some people would call the Nishino Flower plus Seiun Sky pairing, plus all of these other different breedings with Seiun Sky, a bit like crazy breedings, because people thought that the bloodline wouldn't really catch on, or like any genes would, any sparks would trigger, right? And then what happened was that this one horse over here, Nishino Daisy, would eventually spark something. So that's really, really damn sick of them, right? Nishino Flower was eventually buried alongside Seiun Sky after Seiun Sky passed away, which I think was very, very touching. Presumed to have died of a heart attack in 2011, but also known to have banged his head heavily against a wall. But according to post-mortem, apparently it was about a heart attack, right? So I'm not really sure if the slam or the heart attack did it. Maybe it's a combination of both. So really, whatever the case is, she died due to medical complications also, right? The epitaph for her is basically the lightning that gallops through the blue sky, lasting forever. Seiun Sky, right? Shigeyuki Nishiyama has the bike and the car with the Seiun Sky and Nishino Flower theme on them, and he takes credit for making the ship happen also, because he really is the one that did the ship. So yeah, Seiun Sky, really, really cool horse, part of the golden generation. Maybe in the future, I'll add a Spare Chan also, because Spare Chan is also, El Conto and Spare Chan needs to be talked about. They have to be talked about. But for now, we'll talk about Seiun Sky. Later on, we can maybe talk about Special Week when she gets her Overlord of Japan, right? When we get that skin, then I'll talk about her a bit more there. Right, so I think that's pretty much it for the lore part. We will now go on to the actual banner review and understanding why Seiun Sky is going to be so damn meta, right? So 10% stand bonus, 20% wit. These are the two probably most important stats for any horse to go and get, right? Very nice to get stamina. Of course, you want to get speed and power, but stamina is also not too bad for certain races like mediums and longs, which she is a specialty in, right? 20% wit is also extremely good for front runners. Why? Because wit controls your position keeping. When you have high wits, you have better position keeping than the other horses. So blockers that try to block front runners will want to get as much wit as possible so they can maintain position very, very easily. And she's a dedicated front runner, but she's not too bad in the pace and late positions. Why? Because historically she did run in those positions, so they did like kind of talk about this as well. Angling and scheming is one of the most important alts. You would call it number one, right? This is just called number one. There's number one, there's number five, there's number six. Number five is Dober, number six is Ryan, and number one is Seiun Sky, right? Number one is because the order is absolutely number one. This is a win more ultimate. If you are the first place and you activate angling and scheming, you basically will win the game. All other front runners cannot activate angling and scheming, and they just lose, right? So that is how angling and scheming works. It is a win more button. If you do not win, you are not winning the game anymore. But if you are winning, you will win the entire game because you activate this very, very powerful, unique, very, very powerful horse. In addition, this horse is also extremely easy to train because you come with Tail Held High, you come with Escape Artist, you also come with Vanguard Spirit. I'm not sure if that one's very, very relevant, but basically these two here are really, really quite decent. And then Front Runner Savvy also is a very, very good green skill because that is one green skill to help you trigger groundwork, and it works on every single track, right? Front Runner Savvy just requires you to be a front runner, so that's -1 green for you to go and snipe to activate your groundwork, because groundwork requires 3 skills. Greens are the most consistent because they always activate. Front Runner is just a +1 for you, so it's much, much easier to train your Seiun Sky. Very, very easy to train. You can also get quite a few other very, very decent skills here, like front runner straightaways, and then so on and so forth, right? So I think that this is a very, very powerful horse, naturally, and also has one of the most powerful accelerations of our time. 0.4 XL for a first place horse. Even to today in JP, they will still get this horses unique. It is that powerful. It is just that powerful for the front runner position, right? If you still don't believe, go to the UMA later. I already ran the skill chart for you. And what happens is you can see here on the Tokyo 1600, the Cancer Cup, angling triggers over here. Perfect timing. If you still don't know how racing works, basically in this section over here, you want acceleration. Acceleration here makes you go really, really fast. Look at that shit. Zoom. And then because you hit the top speed faster than the other horse, you are more likely to win than that other horse. Of course, the stat lines, ignore that. The stat lines don't matter here. I'm just showing you where it triggers for the angling. Poplanka is also really good because Poplanka also triggers in this section here, giving you an insane amount of acceleration as well, right? So for Seiun, if you were making a Seiun Sky, what you would do is you would get Seiun and then inherit Poplanka as well, right? That would be very, very powerful for you to go and get double acceleration here. And Uma Musume, for CMs in particular, right, is an acceleration game. So you definitely want to go and build for this position here, right? So that is pretty much it to understand about Seiun Sky. Now we go on to the other stuff that are going to be coming out this time. I think Dober SSR is coming out. I'm not sure if it's out already, but I think this one is coming out, right? This card is actually quite good because if you are in team trials, right, you actually want this because this is just a skill that will always activate. So for team trials, this is actually a really, really good card, and it gives also some pretty decent wits output. It's basically equivalent to a max level max level SR for free, which I think is quite solid, right? So this is the overall pretty good budget card. Please do not go and dust this card. I know some of you are asking whether I can burn some of these free cards. try not to burn them, because like losing the card sometimes is kind of ass depending on your deck. Of course, if you're a super whale, then just burn the cards all you want, alright? As a super whale, you will get so many horseshoes, you literally do not have to ask me if you need to burn cards. You can just burn them if you want to. You have so much better cards than these cards. But for F2Ps, this is a very, very solid intelligence card, I have to say, right? Then we will go on to the Seiun Suzuka and the Tamamo Cross. Seiun Suzuka is a notable card because it has a skill point bonus and a pretty damn good friendship bonus, 35 by the way. That's pretty insane. If you look at Kita-san Black, right, 4LB is only 25 and friendship bonus is like the king in this game, right? Of course, you don't have the specialty priority of Kita-san, but having 65 is also pretty respectable. But having skill point bonus on top of that, do you know why Sweep Tosho is so damn good? The events give skill points, right? But also she has a skill point bonus at 4LB, so it's a very, very powerful card with 30 friendship bonus also, and this one ups her. So Sweep Tosho is really, really solid, and Seiun Suzuka is also really, really solid. The weakness of Seiun Suzuka is that she doesn't have training effectiveness at all, meaning she cannot support other rainbows. She is literally here for speed and speed alone, but she does give you a skill point bonus, which is very valuable for certain decks where you want to get the stuff. And in addition, her skills are also quite solid, right? You can get so many frontrunner skills. These two always wanted for any frontrunner, literally always wanted, right? Focus is okay if you want to go for groundwork activation and you did not hit another green. You can copium a bit with the focus. Then you also have a lot of other frontrunner skills. Later on, some of them will get buffed, so they become more essential as well. And you can even RNG a frontrunner savvy, which is just +1 for your groundwork activations. Can also get a left-handed for certain tracks. Unrestrained is sometimes good. It's more of a gambling skill than anything, right? But left-handed, please don't get baited by this one. What happens is that this is a training event, a completely random training event with no control on your part, right? So whether you hit this or not is purely up to the card's decision, right? Which is very, very RNG. And some people who try this will tell you, yeah, you are not hitting that. Alright, so don't get baited by this one. It's mostly for these skills over here. That's why you want to use the Seiun Suzuka card. But it's a very good speed stat stick. If you need a speed stat stick with more skill point bonus, this is a very, very good option. Tamamo Cross. This card is on the opposite end where it has no specialty priority at all. So it is really, really bad at giving you any rainbow. But it has 15 effectiveness, meaning that it's more of a friend card where it just bounces around, and if you see it on Guts, you can click it on Guts. If you see it on Wit, you click it on Wit, because it gives you effectiveness, and effectiveness is always nice to have, right? For skills wise for this card gives you medium corners 1.5 and also gives you some debuffs and whatnot. It's mostly a medium lead surger kind of card, and also gives you Fast and Furious, which can only be acquired from winning ticket. You can get position pilfer from all of these horses over here also, so it's not too hard to go and get the white skill. At least this is a pretty damn decent skill, allowing you to try to overtake people with the additional speed, with the velocity mid-race, right? Because these surges are ultimately a gambling position. You want to position yourself to activate number 6 and number 5, Dober and Ryan, and so because of the Fast and Furious, you can actually sometimes overtake like a pace chaser or maybe even a front runner if there's a ton of front runners, and then you get the 5th or 6th position, and then now you're winning, right? So this is something that is good to talk about, but not really so essential that you want to hunt this down every single time. Of course, I did mention that you probably wanted it for the Grass Wonder, but that's because you wanted to beat stuff like Ghost Ship and whatnot, right? So yeah, this is a situational card. Because of the no rainbow chance, it's probably one of the weaker ones, and unfortunately it takes a stamina slot, which is not what you want to do for stamina positions. For stamina positions, you want to be clicking the rainbows, you want to be using shit like Super Creek, right? So if you were to compare Super Crit and Tamamo, Super Crit is always going to be much better, because 1, 2, 3, 4 relevant stuff, and then you get the most powerful skill in the game, Swinging Maestro. Always consistent, always reliable Maestro. Super Crit is going to be a card that we will use for the rest of our lives. Tamamo is not something that is going to have very high value. Suzuka is also not going to be a card that has very high value. Eventually, other cards will come out that are going to be better than her, but as a stat stick, she is actually a respectable one. I will have to say that at least, right? Seiun Sky is another one also for frontrunners. As a stamina card, it is a good stamina stat stick as well. So frontrunners do have some good stat stick cards in Seiun Sky and Seiun Suzuka. So I think that's pretty much it for the banner review already. Right, now the last one is just going to be about the logic. Should I pull Seiun Sky? Well, if you have a frontrunner main, and because of our accelerated CM schedule, right, you may want to actually go and pull her, right? Because what happens is that because we have so little time to actually go and race, we only have 3 rentals right now because they didn't give us more, unlucky. What happens is that basically you have, if you pull the Seiun Sky, you can infinitely grind her. right? You can infinitely grind your Saiyan Sky to be as optimal as you want. But if you don't have her, then you have to basically only do 3 runs a day for inheriting into your ace, which may or may not be your thing, right? Of course, if you only have enough time to do 3 runs a day, then this shit won't affect you at all, right? Then yeah, if you're a player like that, then you should not pull for Saiyan Sky, right? In addition, you should always save up at least 200 or even 400 pulls. For horses, it's only 200, so you only need to save for 200 pulls. 200 pulls to get the Saiyan Sky, because I had to pull for Taishin in 200 pulls. I did not hit Taishin at all, right? So definitely do not feel pain at all. Don't be like me, right? You want to make sure you pull all the way. Make sure you have enough to pull all the way. Otherwise, you do not pull at all, right? If you want to try and get lucky, good luck. All right. If you miss, you're going to feel so bad because you just dumped a bunch of pulls and now you don't have the pity. All right. Don't get baited. You need to have 200 pulls before you pull for the Saiyan Sky to avoid the worst case scenario of you dumping all of your pulls inside and then literally getting absolutely nothing. Right. That is the thing that I want to help people avoid, because that feeling will make you quit the game, because that's what happened to me. Right, I quit the game because of that, right? And I did not have the money to spend at that time because I was still a student. So I want to help you guys to avoid this shit, right? Do not attempt to get Seiun unless you have 200. If you see your friends get lucky, you may not be the lucky person, right? You are not the lucky one, right? Assume always the worst case scenario when it comes to gacha games. That is how you can avoid great disappointment that forces you to quit the game. Okay. So that is pretty much the pulls requirement for getting the Seiun Sky. Then the next one is just, are you going to pull anything else in the future, right? Because after the Seiun Sky banner over here, there are quite a lot of horses out. All right, are you going to be pulling any of these for waifu reasonings? Are you going to be pulling any of these for because you want to have a certain type of meta, like you want to do late surgers or pace chasers? And Fuji and Ghost City, low-key not even that bad, right? El Condor Pasta is one of the king of gambling, basically, right? Very, very RNG, but if you hit it, you can basically win the whole game. And then, of course, we have the demon frontrunner herself, Swimsuit Marozensky, who will be dominating our meta for quite the foreseeable future. Basically, we will be running her, plus Valentine Bourbon, plus Christmas Oguri, or one more frontrunner also can, right? This will be our meta for a very, very long time. And that's why Seiun Sky is our very high value pool if you are planning to pull for the Swimsuit Maru, because our CMs are so fast, right? Because the CMs are so fast, it's better to have her so that you can train her to your specifications. Otherwise, you are purely reliant on borrowing another person's Seiun, and a lot of the Seiuns will be disappearing due to a lot of people wanting to do frontrunner strategies, right? Of course, after we talk about all of that for the pulling systems, right, I also want to talk about how to beat her and how to make a horse with her, right? For Seiun Sky herself, all you need to do is really just run Seiun, get any other accelerations, and then aim for groundwork. Once you have groundwork, your horse is viable for victory already. But to make groundwork viable, you need to get 3 greens or 2 green, 1 skill. Because 2 green, 1 skill is still copium because of the wits-based activation, for example, for focus, greens are still preferable, right? So focus is only here really as an RNG element. Like if you really need to copium the groundwork because you are very done with the grinding, then you just buy the focus, you buy the concentration. They do have some sort of value. I asked Urzi about this one. They do have some sort of value, but it's very, very hard to say the value because this only prevents late starts. It does not give you better starts, right? So it only prevents the bad things from happening, right? So yeah, that's why focus is not really something that I recommend for all of you. It's better to still get the triple greens for high consistency activation of your groundwork, right? And then besides that, all you need to do is just buy anything else that really helps you with your victory, right? Just get all the greens, get all of the speeds, get the Mal S, and you're done. Congratulations, Seiun Sky completed, right? Just buy any other frontrunner skills that work very well here, frontrunner corners, Mal corners, blah blah blah. Congratulations, your horse is done already. Seiun is a very, very easy horse to make if you consider the groundwork part easy, because the groundwork part and the Mal S part is a bit tricky also, right? I can't say that that is a really easy thing. It's the bare minimum to make the horse viable. And then after that, you also need to make 2 other horses that have the groundwork as well as the Seiun and Alcondo Pasa alts in the case of the Cancer Cup. So that's how you make a very, very strong Seiun Sky or very strong frontrunner. Get groundwork, get the S, and then after that get enough greens or even 1 focus just to activate the groundwork. And then after that, just get all the speeds you can get. Tail held high, all this still works. So you can still go and get that if you want to, right? That's basically how you make a really, really powerful frontrunner. But how do you beat the frontrunner? Will frontrunner be the dominant strategy? Nope. There are many, many other ways to win the game. For example, there's still Majuro Ryan. Majuro Ryan, with that unique, you get number 6 with that acceleration plus other accelerations activating. You can stack more of them on top of each other and you can get a very, very powerful gambling looking horse. Taishin is also still going to be very, very strong because Encroaching Shadow is also a 0.4 XL, equivalent to a Seiun Sky unique. And also, Taishin can get the Majiro Ryan unique. Now you can get double acceleration, can Nemesis carry over, the speed carry over. That also functions as a bit like acceleration, right? So that is still very, very good. So Taishin, El Condor, Seiun, all very, very powerful options. But of course, there is one way to kill front runners, and that is to steal the front. Because Seiun Sky's unique only activates in the first position. And because if you steal the first position from them, they don't get to play the game. So who are the best stealers in this CM? The best stealers are going to be McQueen, Bakushin, as well as Smart Falcon. Bakushin will be the most easy one, I think, for most people, because that's only just a 1-star horse, right? But Bakushin is a very, very strong blocker, right? That's why I call the deck Blockushin, because I'm going to build myself a Blockushin deck, and all you need for a Blockushin is actually just getting all of the corner speed stuff. Just overtake at the corner speed and don't let them play the game for the entire game. You don't even need to get Seiun Sky unique on this horse. You don't even need to get Mal S on this horse. All you need to do is just say no to the enemy frontrunner by speeding. Just go fast. Literally the Bakushin strategy, right? Get all of the stuff that gives you speed, get frontrunner savvy, get groundwork also, because you need to fight the other ground workers. And then after that, you can even get concentration if you want, so that you will never ever have a bad start, because you're purely here as a debuffer. And then you get Speed Eater to debuff people behind you, and then you get all this corner stuff that works for you, right? Like Slipstream and blah blah blah. Sorry, not Slipstream, but basically anything that gives you corner speed. Anything that activates near the mid leg, right? Because then that helps you to take that first position and deny them all. Once they are denied, 0.4 XL, 0.2 XL disappear. All these XL disappear. Who is at the back? Taishin, Ryan, Grass Wonder, Vodka. All of them gamble, get into the front, activate number 6. They're coming and chasing down your front runners, right? Because your Bakushin doesn't need to win. She just needs to make all of the others lose. That's why Blockushin is a very, very fun strategy for me, because I don't like to do the groundwork as grinding. It's really, really quite painful, right? But of course, later on, once I get the V-Bourbon, maybe I get better cards, I will consider starting to do them. But yeah, for now, Blockushin is going to be my play of the game. Later on, they'll add the Great Escape, the Great Front Runner strategy, where Science Suzuka, Twin Turbo, all of these horses will run all the way in front, and there's even scenarios that give you the Great Escape as an option. So that changes them into the Super Front Runner, where they're even more aggressive than front runners. And if you are a super aggressive front runner, you can actually deny all the horses behind you the ability to take over you, and you can steal Seiun Sky from them. So that is another way later on to go and deny the victory from these front runners, because front runners will be a very, very dominant strategy for a lot of the CMs, and later on League of Heroes also, right? That's going to be another very dominant thing that you will see a lot. Okay, so that's pretty much it for all of the stuff that I had to say for this video. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment below. If you want to support me, you can go to the Ko-fi over here. If you want to ask questions through Ko-fi, also can, or otherwise join me in my streams, or just put comments down below. If I get a ton of comments about this one specific thing, I will make a video about it. I know the top comment right now is how do I make a Blockushin horse. So I will be talking about that one. I'll also add my own ace deck here, but for ace decks, that one is a bit weird because you guys have different cards than me. So if I put my ace deck there, you'll be like, Mumu Cows, I don't have your cards. Well, yeah, you don't have my cards. Ace decks are always subject to the person itself. But I mean, I'll just show you what I am going to use, and then you can just copy paste based on that. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks guys for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.